Welcome to another edition of Business Connections, where we put the spotlight on the small businesses of your community. I'm Larry Seaman, your host. And on today's show, we focus in on the Derry News. It's a newspaper that has been covering the greater Derry community since December of 1880. Now, it is currently owned by the Eagle Tribune with publisher Al Getler, and the Derry News editor is Bill Gilman, and his offices are located on West Broadway, right here in the heart of Derry, New Hampshire. Now, we got to talk about the paper's history and a little bit on the staff itself. So let's go in as they open the doors to us for the Derry News. If you could start off the program by telling us a little bit about the history of Derry News.
Well, it's great to have a chance to talk to you, Larry, and it's great to have a chance to talk about the paper. If you ask anybody in my family, it tends to be my favorite subject to talk about is my job and the company that I work for. So, right. Absolutely. Well, the paper's been around for more than 125 years. It's always been centered here in Derry, but it's always been, and one of the misconceptions a lot of folks have is that they think that at one point it was just a Derry newspaper. Yeah. And in point of fact, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the very first edition, again, 125 years ago, back in the 1880s, there was news on the front page from Derry, Londonderry, Salem, Windham, Chester, throughout the region. So really, the newspaper, Derry News, has always served the entire region. And right now, of course, we serve Derry, Londonderry, and Chester. One of the things that I wanted to do with the paper was make it a bit more reader-friendly, a bit more easy for the readers to navigate and find the specific things that they're looking for. Because what we found was everybody's got a special section of the paper that they like. Unfortunately, one of the things that has changed over the years is very few folks will sit and read a newspaper cover to cover now. We live in a very busy time, people don't have much time. But they've got certain sections they like. They love the public safety, the police logs, or they love the sports section. They head right to the sports section or the school news. Well, we wanted to kind of delineate that a bit more. And we've got now a special public safety page. All of your crime news can be found right there. If you want specifically Derry news, we've got a specific Derry page. We've got a great section called People You Know, which is all of your anniversaries, weddings, engagements, hometown heroes, our folks in the armed services. You go to that page, and I almost guarantee you're going to find the name of somebody that you know in the community.
Now, the Eagle Tribune has some relationship to Derry News or vice versa. Could you tell us what that relationship is and also the differences between the two papers?
Sure, absolutely. Folks who know the history of the paper know that for many, many years it was a family-owned newspaper, the Derry News. And some years ago it was bought up by the family of papers that includes the Eagle Tribune. Right now we share office space here in our West Broadway offices with the New Hampshire edition of the Eagle Tribune staff. So we've got two papers basically that are coming out of the same building. The Eagle Tribune, of course, is a daily. They come out 7 days a week. We come out the once a week. For a while, we had what was called a blended staff. There were folks who were writing for both publications. That's pretty much not done anymore. We've got our staff for the Derry News. They've got their staff for the Eagle Tribune. Every once in a while, we'll share some content. We cooperate with each other, but we essentially operate independently, and that's a good thing. The daily paper is going to be your paper that will give you the stuff on a day-to-day basis, breaking news. They'll get it right out to you. We still give you the news, but we'll give you a little deeper look at it. We will kind of go to the next level. We may not have the first, in our print edition, we may not have the first report on that big fire that you heard about, But on the other hand, we'll have the follow-up story on what's going on with the family. How are they doing? What are their plans now? What's the cause of the fire? We'll take it to the next level. We'll go more in depth. And I think that that's what people find with us. The other thing is the daily paper, the Eagle Tribune, as with most daily papers, they've got a very broad area that they cover. We can focus on our three towns. And because of that, we are able to do a lot more stories on people, stories on the schools, stories on youth sports. We do some stuff with youth sports and the schools that you won't find in any other papers. Youth soccer, this week's edition we had youth wrestling, we had cheerleading, we had gymnastics, we had dog sled racing. I mean, all of these sports that people in our towns are competing in that the daily paper just can't do because they're also covering the Red Sox and Patriots and whatnot.
You put out the assignments to the reporters?
Absolutely, sure. We meet once a week. I talk with them every day, but we have a staff meeting once a week and we go over the assignments. They generate a lot of stories off of their own beats, off of what they cover. But also, I'll get a lot of phone calls. I'll get story leads. There's things that I'll pick up with my contacts in the community, and I'll hand out assignments to the different reporters. And we've got a couple of correspondents who do some stuff for us too, and make sure we've got everything covered.
Great. What's the future of the newspaper world? Are you folks getting more and more into the internet and that kind of thing?
Sure.
How does that affect the paper?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. And the truth of the matter is the internet is becoming more and more of a tool that people are using to get their information, to get their news from. Recently, the New England Press Association just published some findings that said that, I believe it was last December, was the first month in which more Americans got their news from the internet than from any other source. And so that is a wave of the future. The challenge for us as a news industry, and it's not just we've got a print edition, and that's the thing that people see in the newsstands. But that's not all that we are. We've got a multimedia website where people can come. They can, we try to publish some fresh news every day on the website. So people go there, they're going to find new stuff. There will be some stuff that's on the website that's not in the print edition. There'll also be some wonderful multimedia stuff. Audio slideshows that we have, additional photos that didn't appear in the paper. We might have 2 photos from a basketball game that appeared in the paper. We might have another 6 on the website, So the challenge for us as a news organization is to blend those 2 products, our online product and our print product, and figure out how, using those 2 products, we can best get as much information to the public as possible.
Right. So the local paper is alive and well.
We are alive and well and kicking, and rather than cut back on our coverage, which we absolutely are not doing, quite the contrary. We're adding coverage, we're adding content, we're doing more. We're doing more with sports, we're doing more with the schools. And like I say, we're offering it not just in print and not just specifically on a website, but also we're getting more into multimedia. We're going to be getting some more into video. We're getting more into audio slideshows. So as we go along, the content that we offer isn't going to be shrinking. It's just going to be growing more and more.